I'm here with Aid from Drum Machine. We saw you yesterday in front of the main stage. So, are you a samba band?
Definitely not, no. I mean, you could get, if you were a purist sambista, then you would say no. But I'd spent like 12 years playing samba reggae with a guy who worked with Oladom and set up a big network of drumming bands across the world called bateria. There's like 26 bands now. They turn out 250 players at Notting Hill. I ran one element of that band in Lancaster, and I always really liked the sound of the drums.
Yeah.
But the grooves were good and everything, but they weren't. They didn't really do it for me.
Yeah.
I was brought up more with kind of electro and hip hop and techno and drum and bass. So I just thought, I always had the idea in my head that to use the same instruments to create those same dynamics, but sort of transfer them onto rhythms that made more relevance to me and the culture that I was brought up in.
Yeah.
So we're not samba, no, but we do sort of have the odd samba break as a kind of, sign of respect.
Yeah.
We're kind of acknowledging that that's where the instruments came from,
Yeah. Costumes. I think the best samba bands have a costume. You have a costume. What kind of style or what kind of subculture would you say your band is then?
Well, it kind of actually the costume they wear now. When we first started, I wanted like something quite ninja-ish, like quite sort of Jedi.
Yeah.
And we've made these cloaks with these hoods, and it ended up looking more druid than Jedi. So we kind of went, well, it's a prototype. Maybe we'll get rid of that. And then we played at our first festival, and everybody sort of like kind of just wore what they needed to for the festival. And actually, it started to look a little bit sort of post-apocalyptic, post-punk, that kind of thing. And everybody really got into the idea of sort of developing. They could be a little bit more personal with it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of got a bit S&M, and now it's kind of going, it's just sort of going in a kind of more theatrical sort of direction. Yeah. And it's great because everybody just gets to say, everyone gets to be individual, They try to bring out their own character in what they're wearing, which I don't know what that says about some of them when you see what they're wearing.
Yes, and I saw there's quite a lot of choreography going on, which I think is important in a big band. Did you borrow any of that from samba, or did you invent that?
No, I mean definitely. I think you can't get away from the fact that we are a bateria, which is what comes from the streets of Brazil.
Yeah.
And over there they don't use complicated choreography, but they use effective en masse choreography, and we're developing that as we go. And what's lovely about it is it's not like we sit down and go, right, we're going to do this step and then this step. It actually just develops in rehearsals by people almost jamming out choreography. Someone will do something, and then all of a sudden the energy's there and the band do it, and it becomes, nobody actually writes down, right, we've developed this. It just happens, and then live it just happens, and it becomes organic.
I was looking at the actual lineup of your instruments. So there's surdus in there.
Cutadors, they're called.
Because I noticed that they look like surdus, but they look like a different proportions to me. They look kind of chopped down.
Well, samba reggae, which is what they are, samba reggae instruments, they're a bit squarer in size,
Yeah.
So whereas in Rio you get these great big long surdus, in samba reggae you get these things called cutadors, and I think it means cutting drum.
Right,
and they're tuned really, really high, so they pop.
Yeah.
And then you get a bank of them, and then they sound like a wall, really, And then the basses are the same drum, but we put a layer of vinyl over the heads, and it gives it that sort of sub-bass kind of sound.
So I was going to ask you about that. So that's vinyl, not leather?
Vinyl, not leather,
Right.
Well, it could be leather. No, it's leather, actually,
Leather.
Studded leather on the inside. No, it's just vinyl. It gives it that subsonic sound, that more sub-bottom end.
So you're not getting that deep sound by tuning, you're getting it
they
by...
They are tuned down, they're bigger drums.
Right.
I mean, really, the Repening, the really high-pitched one, and the 18-inch Cutador, the mid-surdo, if you like, and then the two bottom drums, they're exactly the same drum.
Right.
Just a round sheet of metal with two plastic heads.
Yeah.
It's just the size that varies. There's nothing sort of no snare, no chains or anything on those drums.
Yeah.
But when you get down to the 20 and the 22s, we just do pitch them down quite low, and then put the vinyl head, and then you get that kind of you get that rolling bottom end. Then.
And are you actually looking for like a distinctive pitch on the different tuning, or you did it by sound?
Really, not when you've got that many players. We are developing a stage band at the moment where there'll only be 2 basses and 3 of those cutadors, and they'll be close mic'd. When we do that, we'll probably tune them, something weird like a third apart or something. Minor fourth, I don't know.
Because it should be something like a fourth, fifth, inverted fifth, inverted fourth. Trust me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. You sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yes, but no.
You could come and tune them for us if you want.
I can tell you what it can be. Doesn't mean I can do it.
I think when we've got less drums, it'd be
Yeah.
easier. But with
Yeah.
the load of them like that, you're just going for you're going for the meat, really. You know what I mean?
I'm going to get really geeky now.
Go for it.
Sticks.
Yeah.
I noticed the sticks that you were using. Now, are they wooden sticks? Are they plastic tubing?
On the Repeniques, they're plastic sticks. I haven't got any here now.
Oh,
They're called whippy sticks.
Yeah, they're kind of thin, solid plastic
Thin,
sticks.
solid plastic. Yeah. And I guess they came from like Ilya and Oladum in playing with like wood. They just
Yeah.
used to whittle wood down
Right.
about that long, and they'd hold the Repenique so it was down by their feet, and they'd play with these sticks about that long, like
Yeah.
they were fly fishing or something.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah.
But we play with the plastic sticks on the Repeniques. On the Cuttadors, it's beaters.
Yeah.
Quite solid beaters. And on the bass, they use one beater and one stick.
Yeah.
You don't really hear the stick on the rim unless we break down to just the bases,
Yeah.
but it gives them that, to go back to the sound, I guess the thing that makes us different from samba to what we do really is the bass drums.
Yeah.
In samba, you've just got quite a straight pulse with the
Yeah.
bass drums. We actually sort of play drum and bass parts, bass drum parts, or breakbeat bass drum,
Yeah.
or hip hop. And to get that, they use a beater and a stick,
Yeah.
as if they're simulating the snare drum. And also, because they're not drummers, you have to audition to get in the band, but it
Yeah.
is, in essence, it's kind of just a very good quality community band.
Yeah.
So it allows us to develop patterns where the left hand is used more to facilitate the right hand being
Yes.
in the right place.
Yeah, I
At the
know
right
that well.
time.
Yes, I know that well. And this idea of actually using a stick on the rim, which I have seen in African music,
Yeah.
but I've not actually seen it in samba. Is it common in Brazilian
I don't
music?
think it is, no, I don't think it is. I mean, when we get round to it, we keep saying all these things we're going to do. We're going to just get a little attachment that goes on the side of the bass drum, and we'll put a little bit of sheet metal wrapped around it, so it'll be a bit more of a trashy sound, and you'll be able to hear it better.
Music to my ears, that is actually something that I've been thinking about when I look at, because I do like the idea of using a stick
Yeah.
on the surdo, and I think it's a kind of a waste just to, especially in a small band, when you're just damping it with your hand.
Yeah, I mean, in a band that size, you wouldn't hear that dampening anyway, it would just be lost.
Yeah.
I think, yes, use a stick and have different bells and, whatever else around the outside of it,
Yeah.
would be great.
Brilliant. And I was going to ask you about the experience of the drummers. Now, it would be really hard to tell because they are so good if you trained them and you brought those drummers in, or any of them are actually
Ringers.
ringers. Are any of them like drummers in bands before the band started?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when we started, there was only about 5 of us at the first rehearsal, and I was the only player. And I guess we've been really lucky. We're in Hebden Bridge, so we've got a really good network of kind of creative people.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of people were drawn to the project because it was a bit more kind of dance culture. And that, and I was working with a really amazing drummer from a band called Black Block, and he came in and played as a snare player, and it really provided an anchor.
Yeah.
And then that it attracts all sorts. We're attracting more top-end players now.
Yeah.
But I would say in the band now, we've probably got 1, 3, maybe 6, 7, including me, that are all good kit players,
Yeah.
and they could sit down and hold their own on a kit quite comfortably. And the rest are all, they're dancers, or they're just really enthusiastic,
Yeah.
and keen to get
Yeah.
involved in the whole thing,
Now, when I saw you setting up and I thought, a samba band, the first thing that struck me was no tambourines, no go-go bells, no shakers. Not a fan of those?
Well, I mean, I think unfortunately what happens is, with the greatest of respect to community samba bands, they have a remit, and their remit is about inclusion. Right?
Yes.
And that's great. That serves a purpose in the community, but it means that the music becomes very diluted.
Yeah.
And you have it's just like, it's that kind of, when I think about that kind of samba band, I think a go-go bells and tambourines being played really badly. If you go to Brazil, they're playing the tambourine, it's magical, it's really incredible. And for that reason alone, I wouldn't dare to pick one up. But to be honest, it's more to do with the fact, when I did my 10 years with Jiba in Batalor, that was the makeup of instruments. With Oladum as well, it's caixa or snares, bass surdus, cuttadors and repeniques. Not even any timbers.
Right,
those big long sort of timbers.
They're like a
walking conga.
Yeah, and they're kind of lightweight and conical, so you can actually walk with them.
Yeah.
But you have to walk like this.
Phenomenally loud.
Yes,
Phenomenally loud,
Yeah.
But certainly no bells and no shakers. I think, to be honest, that's more associated with Rio.
Yes.
And in Brazil, samba is very specific to areas, if you go into Recife or Rio or Sao Paulo,
Yeah.
and bells are definitely not something that are associated with Bahia, and that's where I kind of got the sound of the instruments from.
Yeah. Which is Bahia.
But saying that, I was,
northeastern Brazil.
You know, it's northeast Brazil. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was welting a cowbell
A
today.
cowbell. Oh right, yeah. You
Yeah,
can't.
you
You
know.
can't beat a cowbell.
I
You
love-
can't. I say you can't beat a cowbell, but you can beat a cowbell.
You got to put a banging donk on it, haven't you, somewhere?
Yes.
You know.
Yes. So finally, where can all the other drummers find pictures of you, sounds of you, videos of you?
Basically, the best thing to do is just to hit the website. We've got our links to our YouTube channel, we've got links to our SoundCloud, we've got blogs going on there, and that's drummachine.org.uk. Just go on there, drop us a line, get in touch. We are, at some point in the future, you know, we're going to set up a network of bands. But what we're going to do is establish ourselves for about another year, and then set up a kind of side company that'll be a charity, and then apply for funding that we'll be able to then advertise for drummers and a team of people per area to actually start a drum machine themselves, and we'll facilitate that and train them. But then they can write their own grooves, they can teach us theirs, we can teach them theirs, ours, and then we can all come together en masse without much rehearsal to do, like, you know, look like The Walking Dead, won't it? You know.
Oh yeah.
At Notting Hill or something, you know.
Well, I'll be giving you my phone number straight after this interview.
Right, brilliant.
Right, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Nice one.
I really enjoyed that.
Brilliant,
Thank you so
thanks
much.
very much.